Okay, we're now recording, and look, I'd like to welcome everybody to Working Class Australia. Then also, I have a very close friend and good comrade of mine, Helen Whooley, on the show today. I'm recording here from the land of the Jar Jar Wrong, and I'd like to acknowledge the elders past, present and future, and also acknowledge that their struggle is part of a broader struggle against a common foe, and that is imperialism, and we should be standing united with them in a broader class struggle and then being divided, black and white, unite the fight. Well, welcome, Helen, and yeah, welcome to today. We're just for those who will be watching this, we're in lockdown for 7 days until the end of until midnight on next Thursday night. Yeah, we've had a few cases of COVID broken out, and we've obviously now the state is in lockdown. But anyway, give us a good opportunity. I want to say what this is about today. Obviously, it's now going around the world, going quite viral. There's going to be a 60 minutes program on New Zealand, I believe, on our Sunday evening here. It's actually basically the term Kiwi bashing, because New Zealand is taking a strong stance in its relations with China. It's actually improving trade relations, led to believe, and that's been a big no-no to Washington, the Five Eyes, and obviously to our establishment government here is just a lapdog for the US. Obviously, I thought we might have. I've seen the preview to it, and I have to say, really, it just shows you. Oh, well, you could argue it's actually a case of stupidity, but I've actually put it to it's there to try and demonise anyone who dare to take a different path, and also to navigate their own path in the world and develop their own foreign policy without having to be under the dominance of Washington and Wall Street. Just so Helen, what do you make of that?
Yeah, I would agree with everything that you said. It's an interesting situation, and it shows the divisions within the ruling class. You know, they think it's fine for you to be capitalist, and it's fine to be making money. That's not the problem, but the problem is that who you trade with. If you're going to trade with a communist country or a country that is also independent and facing sanctions by the United States and so on, then you will be punished accordingly. And you know, this is kind of a Kiwi bashing thing, but it's also really more a Chinese bashing thing as well. It's trying to demonize China as imperialistic. You know, the slur being, oh, it will no longer be New Zealand, it will be New Zealand. So that's not so much a slur on New Zealand as it is on China, that China is trying to expand its domination around the world somehow through fair trade. You know, of course, America hates it, and as you mentioned, you know, the lapdog of Australia is following suit and doing the bidding of Washington. So, you know, it's unfolding as you expect it to do so when imperialism is involved. This is exactly what they would do, and it's a divide and rule tactic as well around the world. You know, if we can pinpoint it, if we can call New Zealand names and bash New Zealand, then we're dividing the Australian workers from the New Zealand workers, and that's important for imperialism to do. That's important for the United States to do. So we need, you know, as people that see the world changing, to keep our eyes on the fact, on the focus, and is that the primary really an attack on country that won't, and any country that is going to trade with China. I think primarily it's an attack on China, as you know, and secondly an attack on New Zealand.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, obviously they're trying to divide the people of the two respective countries and also stir up a lot of anti-China sentiment. John Pilger correctly pointed out, the upcoming war against China in his article, and this is all part of it to demonise anyone that dares to do something different and has friendly relations with China. I think, look, regarding it for all of us here in Australia, I think there's one thing about the general population and working people. They can be rather pragmatic about this, but they certainly would not want a war with China because they know full well we'd lose. But it wouldn't benefit, it wouldn't benefit anyone at all. And the fact is, all we're basically doing is going to be a long road ahead. But I think what's got to be, sorry, I'll rephrase it. I think it's going to be a long road ahead. But I think what has to happen is basically all this has to be exposed. Australia is being used by a dominant global power for its for that's bidding. There's no interest for ourselves or any working people to actually have any types of aggressive behaviour towards China. We don't benefit anything out of it. And I think, to ridiculous someone like New Zealand, like that. And I think actually for the people in New Zealand, good on you. You're actually standing up to them. I think you're a lot further ahead in a lot of areas than what we are here in Australia. I mean, they've just recently passed legislation to bring back industrial campaign, industrial marketing and patent marketing. We don't have that here. Well, no, if we do that, we're breaking the law. So they're trying to, I mean, I'm not saying anything the New Zealand government's perfect, but by any means. But the fact is, in the day, it's a lot better than what we've had to do with our lot here. And I think it's actually time for this country to start questioning this whole US-Australia alliance and just think it's not benefiting in us at all. They're not here to protect us. They're only here to protect the interests of Washington and Wall Street and London to a certain degree. But the interests of the people are certainly will not take a back seat when it comes down to this sort of stuff. And people have got to understand we need to wake up to the fact, everyone needs to wake up to the fact of what's going on here. And yeah, we're going to lose out now. China's threatening about even might be turning their backs on our iron ore export to them and looking to other exporters. I mean, that, what's next? Because I mean, okay, free trade agreements and that should be criticised. Don't get me wrong. 40 years of neoliberalism has decimated working people and their communities as well in this country, and we should actually be standing up about that. But go on a China bashing or New Zealand bashing exercise is not going to actually resolve the problem. In fact, we're just going to dig ourselves further into a ditch and not going to be able to get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, New Zealand is not, it's very social democratic. It's not socialist. It's not communist by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's been sending warships off the coast of China. So it's participating in the regional bashing of China as well. But the thing is that, and this is the thing for us, this is the kind of contradiction for Australia as well, is that why would you want to damage your closest trading partner? And unless you are doing the bidding of somebody else. And that's what the case is with Australia. Australia's closest trading partner is China. It trades with New Zealand, yeah, but its major trading partner is China. And why would you want to insult, challenge, degrade its population, and then expect that somehow they want to trade with you? I don't think so. That's not diplomacy. That's not how international relations work. So exactly. New Zealand's playing the proper game. It's playing the international game, if you like. It's behaving well. Not because it's kowtowing to China, but not by any stretch of the imagination. And I just said that, in the trailer. It's not about that. But how can you insult your nearest trading partner and then expect for them to want to trade with you? And the only reason that Australia is doing it is at the bidding of the United States. And if we can't understand that concept, then we are forever going to be in a position where we are sandwiched or we're being used by imperialist powers. And this brings me to another point, actually, because just as New Zealand has been demonised for the position it's taking, and that is that it's an independent position, independent of the United States. So too, the same type of thing is occurring with countries like Venezuela and Cuba, Syria, Yemen, all these countries that have independent foreign policies, Russia, China, they're being sanctioned by the United States, they're being demonized, they're being, there's a trade war, an economic war going on against those countries. And it will happen to Australia if Australia begins to decide that we need to be independent. And this is something that we need to be very conscious as well, because any country that wants to be independent of the United States or independent of the world economic order will face the wrath of those leading empires. And we've had it here in Australia. We had Gough Whitlam. He was removed under the auspices of the CIA and so on. So all of these things affect every single worker, every single country that wants to be independent. And the more that we are not allowed to trade, the more that we have trade restrictions placed on ourselves, the more that's going to affect the working class. Ultimately, it comes down to that it's going to affect the working class.
That's right, and then always for every regional conflict or major world wars, working class people are the ones who suffer the most. They're the ones who have to pay for it. They're the ones who have to pay for any type of catastrophe, economic crisis, you name it. They're the ones who pay for it. It's not the imperialists / capitalists, or otherwise the very wealthy. We like to know. It's interesting. It'd be interesting to see with the fractions in the ruling class over here about it, because you've got mining capital, which does depend on Chinese investment and Chinese purchasing of their raw materials, and see what pressure they would be putting on any of the two major parties, because it's not just the Liberal National Coalition. It's also the Labor Party is just as equally as complicit in this, like anyone else in the federal parliament. And so it will be something to be interesting to see what divisions happen there. But obviously the media is on the side of the US imperialists at the moment. And actually, I'd be saying this too. If anything, we'll be watching 60 Minutes on Sunday night. Take everything they say with a grain of salt. I think it's owned by Channel 9, as we know, is owned by Kerry Stokes. His interests are not tied up with the interests of the working class at all. His interests are tied up with Washington and Wall Street and other world investments as well. So let's just keep that in the back of mind as pulling the strings here. But also, I'm glad to be other people there to also commenting and probably doing their own videos and editorials ripping into this article. I think it's good and it's about time. And I think for us here in Australia, it needs to start. I think we need to really start going on the attack with our media, because the reality is, in the end of the day, it's not just Channel 9 where 60 Minutes is. We've got to look at Channel 7, Channel 10, Murdoch, notorious with Foxtel and Sky News, where he owns over 70% of our media. But also, too, look at the ABC and SBS. They've played dreadful roles. Hang on, just going to click that. They've played a completely dreadful role in all this. It's not just on about China. It can be on Syria, Iran, Russia. The ABC was once actually a jewel in the crown for us here in Australia. And I won't say it was completely independent, but they did a lot more thorough investigations and had a lot more interesting discussion on there than what it is just this one-sided view they've got now. So when you hear about saving the ABC, sometimes I think, well, no, I'm not interested in saving something that's it's like trying to save your enemy. It's trying to shoot at you or something. So, yeah, not basically interested at all. So that's it. But I think one thing that we can do, we should be starting to question it, go on the attack. And I mean, even setting in writing, not just letters, but emails to our own presentations, because obviously this is, sometimes I think this has gone beyond the joke, but it's really more than just that. This will actually put us into a deadly serious situation. Unfortunately, we do have warmongers in there in the federal parliament on both sides of politics. They don't care. They don't care because it's not them who's going to go off to any type of conflict or war. Neither is their family. But yeah, and and just been the lapdogs of US interests. I mean, the fact is, at the end of the day, they're not going to lose anything at all. In fact, they'll probably gain while everyone else has to suffer. But I think it's what's vitally important too, the key economic situation here. Wall Street, London, the rest of them. It doesn't matter what sort of issue it's been with COVID, with vaccines and COVID-19 to anything else. They don't want you to buy it from any of their competitors or what they regard as a competitor. China's got a vaccine, and a very good one, I'm led to believe. No, we don't have anything to do. We're still trying to roll out a vaccine program here in Australia. So as Russia's got an excellent one called the Sputnik, and I believe Cuba's actually now exporting theirs for free around to countries that desperately need it. And obviously, the federal government would not dare, neither it wouldn't matter who'd form federal government here, would not dare to actually approach these companies for extra vaccines where we desperately do need it as well. So it just comes to show you, but once again, Wall Street and Pfizer and the rest of them, you're not to buy it from our competitors. You're not to do that at all. We want you to buy our stuff. We want you to buy our stuff all the time. And really, by rights, it's, as I said, I'll make this absolutely clear. You're probably going to get sick of me repeating this. It's people like us, working people, are going to suffer.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's important, for us to understand what's happening internationally as well, and that is, and I mean in terms of the economic system, it's a system that is essentially dying, and it's not going to die in and of itself, but it's dying, and in desperation, it's attacking everything around it, and even in terms of the amount of money that's being spent internationally now on most of it going pockets of the ruling class, and most of it's going into certainly not into the workers' pockets where it's supposed to be going, and that's a symptom, that's a sign, I think, that the system is dying. They're trying to take out of it as much as they can, and reap the benefit of a system that's in decay. And we need to be very aware of this. We need to be to understand that this is what's occurring. Things change constantly, and we're in a state of change now that is being increasing quicker and quicker and quicker, and we have to understand that all of these things that are occurring are not the capitalists aren't necessarily in control of it, but by the same token, in order for us to become in control of it, we have to be active. We can't just expect that the system is going to die and that something new is going to crop up and it's going to be better. That's not going to be the case. We have to be active in recognizing that the system is dying, and that we want to create a new world and a better world for all people. And that's also another kind of part of what's occurring as well.
Yep, and that's one thing that's our main objective. We want to build a better world from the one where we came into as well. We know there's a better system, and it's socialism as well. Like I said in my lives and elsewhere, with Dust as well on our Sunday morning lives. I think it'd be distinctly here for us in Australia to be socialism with Australian characteristics, to be a very unique one for this part of the world. It'll have its own style and flavour as well, but I think one thing it will be, it'll be a very stable society. It'll be one about rebuilding again, and one's about repairing, and ones that generally about improving people's lives instead of this race to the bottom scenario, what we're seeing at the moment. So I think that's a good little chat we've had about this today, and I think, as I said, everyone just be aware what you read and what you watch with the mainstream media. Always read between the lines. It's a mouthpiece for big business. It's a mouthpiece for Wall Street, Washington, or London as well, and and even Tokyo, I dare say, to a certain degree. There's a lot of Japanese investment as well, so just always keep that in the back of your mind.
Absolutely. And also, recognise that there's contradictions in everything that's being told to us as well. New Zealand is I think pretty much up for sale. I think there's a lot of it's been sold off to foreign investors and not Chinese investors. And so how did that come about? What effect is that having on the country? Nothing is as it appears. And we have to recognise that within every single thing there's contradictions, and nothing is how it appears. And we have to read between the lines, and we have to be very conscious that the stuff that's being told to us is probably not the truth.
Exactly. And there's a reason why they do that. They want us to, they're trying to sucker us all in to believe their propaganda, and to say about China's this deep, dark, horrible, nasty place. And actually, basically putting it down, China bad, us good, and it's not that way at all. It is not that way at all. In fact, once again, it's there to sort of gear us up for a war, or to have a conflict with China one way or the other. One that we will not win, but in fact we'll suffer greatly from it. So yeah. I haven't got anything else to add on to that at the moment. But if you for all those who are going to watch this, if you want to bear to watch that program, a 60 Minutes program on Sunday night, feel free to do so. But just be warned, and you can feel free to criticise that program as much as you like. I would highly recommend it. And there was just beware about all this China bashing or anti-China propaganda, but any bashing of any country that decides to take an independent course. I'll leave it at that. And thank you once again, and thank you, Helen, for joining in.
No problem.
I'll just make an announcement next week. I think it's Thursday night next week, 7 o'clock. I believe we have another study out of We Are City Builders. That'll be on the We Are Builders Australia. And we'll be studying Why Socialism by Albert Einstein. So please stay tuned in for that. And thank you, everyone.
See you, Dave. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.